Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? It's wee Paddy from across the Shuck, and you're very welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to do a wee video on Lambsfoot blades. Small little bit of history, as is my want. But I mean, the Lambsfoot sort of gives it away, basically, doesn't it? So, I mean, you have a lamb's foot, you have a sheep's foot, and you have a ram's foot. I'll show you examples of other ones, but this is my little sub-collection of lamb's foot. And the Lambsfoot blade was first written about in the early 1800s. And it was the early 1800s. So, but it didn't actually really come into picture form or drawings of it until the mid-18th century, going towards the end of that 18th century, where you had pictures of the lamb's foot and more detail about it. And it was a knife that the farmers had made for them. Basically, because that's what knives are always made, or were the older patterns when they first came, they were made for a specific use, and these are made for lamb's foot. Now, the nice thing about a lamb's foot is it's got a very narrow tip. It's still a sturdy wee blade. This is an Arthur Wright one. It's an older one now, an Arthur Wright. This is pre-Michael and his crew over there now. This one's in the just faux stag bone. It's plastic, but it's really good plastic. I mean, it is held up. Beautiful little knife. So if you can see with this knife, it's thicker up here and thinner down there. And it doesn't have to be by very much. It's just a little bit that makes it a lamb's foot. And you'll see different sizes and kind of shapes, because it did sort of run into these knives. Can often, the way that the knife makers make them, even now as they did back then, there was different finishes on how they came down to a point. There was sharper angles. There was ones that literally was very different, very much the same as a sheep's foot, a lot of them. But there was a little bit, there's always been that little bit of difference in the thickness, the depth of the blade at this end compared to this end. And this one's a good example of that. But it's a typical lamb's foot. And it was made for trimming their hooves. And also, the reason I think you got the slimmer end was getting in between the hooves and getting stones or anything that was stuck in between them. And because it's a smaller foot than a sheep, that's what they were sort of used for. Farmers were used it, and great for doing the straight edge was great for doing their nails or hooves. I like to treat them as my little teddy bears. But they were just great for that sort of work. So this is a bog standard cheap one, although it has a lovely sheath on them, which is nice. I like that on that, and it's got the typical Arthur Wright bear snap. It is fantastic. The next one I've just traded with Slippy for this one, and this is an old, I think this was George Wilsonholm one. Yeah, it was George Wilsonholm, and again you have that there, thicker up here, thinner down here, and this would be a real true variation on the blade. It is just for everyday use. If you want to get down to do delicate work and you don't want a big thick blade at the end of it, it's perfect for that. And it's perfect for draw cuts. It's perfect for push cuts and whatever you're going to use it on. It's a really useful tool. The only thing it's not good for, as we talked about in the video, is getting down to the board, because no matter where your hands are, that's about as close you're going to get is the tip. So, not a cutlery tool, but a very nice, this is a half stop, and look at snapping that. Lovely bone on this. Really nice jigging on it, quite unusual, but you can see where the bone has been dyed and they've left this bit easy. Well, have they left this bit? I'm not too sure, but I would think so. They've left it. It's really well finished. It's an older model. It's all stainless steel. So to me, probably that usually dictates in between the wars or somewhere after the war. Just so I've no idea the date. It's very hard to date a lot of these knives, but I would say it's around that war, between the wars or after the Second World War, when the brass was still very hard to come by. And again, this one is much the same, just basic. Right, AJ, stop now. Mummy's out, doggy's moaning. And this is a beautiful one I got a couple of years ago, I think it was now. This is an old stag, really old bit of stag, and it's a UK stag, so it doesn't have that browny reddy colour to it, not as firm in the opening. This is a Joseph Rogers, But you can see there, you can see where the Wharncliffe I was talking about, some of these, it's very thin down here, thicker here. But you can see where these could be confused with a Wharncliffe because it was just how the maker seen smaller end, thicker end. That's as simple as that. And it's nice, I've got these and they're nearly all different in their makeup and how it gets down to that little beautiful tip. Again, that's another beautiful tip. But a beautiful knife, and I have the Joseph Rogers mark, which is the star and the cross. Beautiful, really deep bit of gnarly. Look at that, it's nearly like a swirl in it. Fantastic bit of stag. Fantastic bit of stag. I think these were a limited run, but really well made. This was the Eggington Group, which is now another name, and I've forgotten it. Another company has taken it over, but fantastic, fantastic bit of cutlery. And then this is a custom. I've got 2 customs to finish with, and as you might guess, being British, they'll be Ashley Harrison's, and they are. This is the Senator pattern. I just wanted a plain one because I wanted to use it. The stag is just unbelievable on this. And then I want you to see, you can see how this is very straight. And this one, there's not that much difference in it. The thickness here, this is thinner than up here, and I've measured it, and it's true. So this is also a Lambsfoot, and it's just beautiful in hand. The stag makes this knife so comfortable, and for smaller feet that you want to do their nails with, perfect, absolutely perfect. So I mean, this is a treasured one. I do love this one. I do use this one as well now. I do carry this. I like this. This has just got the look at that, straight up the center. Beautiful Ashley workmanship. Beautiful backspring, tight as a drum. Beautiful example of a Lambsfoot blade. And last but not least, this is my fancy pants one, which I got earlier on this year when we visited Ashley. He was making a batch of these, and we managed to get one of these off him, and I couldn't tell you. Look at this burl. It is just stunning. Really beautiful, but look at the depth of the burl on that. Isn't that just, it's stunning. It really is just beautiful. And as you can see, the file work that's on the back has come right down the blade, so it makes it a real fancy pants one, and I love it. I love it. It's not something I would want on all my knives because that's a bit blingy for me, but to have this example of a Lambsfoot is just amazing. I adore it. It's really lovely to have in my collection. I haven't used this much. Cut paper with it, that's about it. It's just a lovely knife. Beautifully finished. Beautiful inside. Just gorgeous. And again, this one has that cam tang action that most of Ashley's do, although he's starting to do more and more half stops, which I'm becoming more and more in favour of, because I'm sort of, yeah, no, it doesn't really matter. But I'm now starting to like the half stops more and more. But I've enjoyed this knife, enjoyed having this knife in my collection. This is one when I want to feel fancy, I'll lift it out and I'll just stroke it because it is beautiful. So that's the Lambsfoot. So what I'm going to now show you is some of the other examples in that foot cutting knife. This is a sheep's foot. Again, this is a very old, this is my first ever Ashley in a sheep's foot. And you can see that it's the same depth all the way along. It is stunning. I love this blade. But again, you can see, you could say, oh, that maybe just looks a wee bit bigger at this end than it does, but it's a sheep's foot. It's what Ashley calls a sheep's foot. It's a sheep's foot. But you can see where you can get the confusion in this blade between this and any of the other ones, because they look very similar in their execution of the knife. I love this. An absolute, just completely stunning knife. This has got so much use over the time. So that's the sheep's foot, which will be the larger of the animal named ones. Well, it's not actually, no, I'm telling a lie. The other one that often gets confused with them is a Wharncliffe. So you can see the Wharncliffe there. Now, a Wharncliffe starts higher up and comes down in this long swoop. But if you see, let me just show you, This is the one we were looking at earlier on. This is the Joseph Rogers. Now, it comes down, but it doesn't start dipping until about just about here, whereas this dips much earlier than it. Much earlier than it. So, but again, they're just knives that craftsmen make, and whatever they make, they call them whatever they want. But it is a Lambsfoot, and that's a beautiful one. So that's a Lambsfoot, and this was the Wharncliffe. This is a beautiful case example in real stag. It is absolutely stunning. It's one of the patterns case do continually well. Beautiful, nice prime stag, but lovely Wharncliffe blade. And the last and the biggest is the ram's foot. Now, I don't have a true ram's foot. This is a ram's foot with a belly. This was a Rough Rider Reserve. And to be honest with you, in use, I think it's better. I like that shallow bit of a belly. It can get down a bit lower. It's just, there's such a big knife. Such a lovely knife. Lovely big deep blade on it. Nice behind the edge. Real working knife. So it's thinner here, fatter here, and that's the ram's foot. But this one has the belly in it. And I think as an interpretation of a working sheep's foot, this is just stunning. And they were about £60. They weren't that dear. Just a super knife for it in D2 steel. Super. These last two are in 01, and these other ones, this one is in stainless steel SF100, and these other two are in carbon. And this one's in D2. Oh, listen to that. It's just, that's, to me, that's one of Rough Rider's best knives ever. It's just super. Just super. So there we are. A little small chat on the Lambsfoot blade. It has great history. It has prominence in the farming side of things. But now for modern knife, it's a very apt knife. If you want, you know, for any detailed work, this is just a superb option. A superb. So's the Wharncliffe. So's the sheepsfoot. But for different, I like the detail in this and the Wharncliffe probably better because you get that really exact point on it, which is really, really handy. So there you go, folks. Paddy's away. I hope you enjoyed this, my little sub-collection of Lambsfoot. And I'll see you very shortly for another wee video, as Jeff would say. Bye-bye now.